Welcome to Spiraling Soul. I'm Casey, and that's Emma. This episode is going to be more stream of consciousness because we're going through it. Emma's especially going through it, so we've been chatting. We couldn't figure out what to talk about, but our chatting has been good, so we're just going to record and continue chatting how we've been chatting. And the last thing Emma said was about being a main character.
Yes, so let me first preface how we got on this topic. I just got laid off this week. So if you don't believe in astrology, now is the time for you to start believing in astrology, because how the hell did I get laid off during eclipse season? And Mercury retrograde and all these crazy astrological things. Eclipse season is a time for things to end, like major endings and major beginnings. So it lines up, it makes sense. I'm like, is there somebody that was at my company that's like an astrologer and was like lining up the layoff to be during eclipse season?
Yeah.
It's just so coincidental.
They were like, yeah, we are gonna lay them off. This is like a month ago. They're like, yeah, okay, we should let them know we're laying them off. And they're like, no, it's not a good time. We should do it during eclipse season when everything is chaos.
Which is funny because we were actually supposed to have our meeting 2 weeks ago, but then they pushed it off to this past week. So
it's those private equity guys being like, how can we just fuck them over the most that we can?
Yeah. Thankfully for people like me who believe in signs and the universe and astrology, it just gives it so much more meaning to me that it happened during eclipse season. But still, it sucks. And also, healthcare and corporations, major corporations, don't go together. Word of advice to everybody out there: don't work for a major corporation. I was kind of forced into it, and now I'm in this position. So what I was talking about was being the main character. So after I got laid off, the past couple days have been just me being very angry. I was so angry at first, and then I just fell into like a depression. Like, I've been so just sad and unmotivated and all these negative emotions. And to be honest, coming into today, I had no words of advice for anybody. I have no optimism. Normally, I have a sense of optimism and hope, especially when I'm journaling. Even if I have something bad that happens, it always ends with like an air of hope. And I haven't had that this week. But I was thinking today, in those TV shows, TV shows and movies where the main character is going through something major and they spend a period of time in the movie at home, in their messy home, in their underwear, messy hair, crying into their ice cream, sitting on the couch for a couple days. But that's like part of their character progression. Like, they are depressed, they're sad, they kind of process it all out. Then something happens and they get back on their shit and they get going. And so I'm trying to look at my situation like that. Like, okay, let me just spend these next couple days, like, I'm just gonna be depressed, gonna let it happen, and then I'm gonna get back on my shit and go. I'm gonna get back on the horse and continue my journey. So yeah, that's how I've been feeling.
And usually at some point in the movie or like the show, you realize like if that bad thing didn't happen to you, you wouldn't be like where you end up. Like, you would have probably been in the same place for like years, and who knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Even though it sucks ass, like, and it's scary, and like they really did fuck over a lot of people. But yeah, like I feel like in movies, that part is always the beginning. The sad on the couch crying. That's always at the beginning
Yeah.
of the movie, and then by the end, they're living awesome, like the best version of themselves. So, this is just your new beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's always necessary in these movies and TV shows to have that arc.
People want to root for the underdog. People want to root for the people who've been fucked over, and you want to see people get better.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see people overcome their situations.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe this is a good time for you to start a YouTube.
I know. I have so many ideas of things that I want to start, and I definitely am feeling like now is a better time than any to do it. So even though I haven't had my optimistic viewpoint as much the past couple days, I still do think that this is the type of ending that's going to open up like 100 new beginnings for me that are going to be even better. Like, I genuinely, even though I don't feel it as strongly as I normally do, I still think that it's going to open up some really good paths for me.
I feel that. I heard this quote in a yoga class that I took, I think it was like this past week, like on Friday. The yoga teacher said, if you want to fly, get rid of the things that are weighing you down.
Mm.
And it's like, if you have all this heavy stuff holding you down, like you're not going to be able to fly. Like if you, like for example, like me coming to an end with my bookkeeping business, I'm sure everyone's so annoyed with how many times I freaking talk about this ending, but don't worry, it's ending and I'll have something new to talk about. But it's, I just had like a realization that I'm like, I need to make space for the new. Like, I'm not going to be able to move forward with my life and pursue the things I actually want to pursue if I have this weighing me down. And I think a lot of people are like, that's so dumb. Like, don't quit your job before you have another job and blah, blah, blah. Honestly, like, fuck what everyone else thinks.
Yeah, it's like your life is your life, and nobody should be able to tell you what you want to do with it.
This eclipse, this solar eclipse, I really feel like I it's a new beginning. Like it's a new mean. Like I feel it. Like this is brand new and it's fucking terrifying and I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just having faith that like everything is going to be like awesome. And because I think because we've been putting so much work into understanding ourselves and understanding what we want and don't want in life and kind of the vibe that we want, I think we're just going to attract to the things that are meant for us. And I think it's going
Mm-hmm.
to be awesome. Even though
Yeah.
it's so scary. Dude, I'm fucking terrified. I'm terrified. I still have like the doubt of like, what if this doesn't work out? Like,
And I feel like a lot of people are probably at this point right now. I don't know what it is, but I think a lot of people are at a turning point right now and they don't know where it's going from here. And I don't know what the advice is even from me because I feel the same. I feel like I definitely feel like a new person. I'm coming into a new chapter. I actually feel different. Like before I found out I was getting laid off, I was really like adopting habits that I've been wanting to do for a while and have never like actually got the ball rolling with, and I feel like I was finally getting into that. um Definitely getting laid off put me off track a little bit, but I do have faith I'm going to get back and going. But yeah, I just feel like something is shifting and I don't know where to go from here. Like I have vague ideas, I know what kind of things I want to call into my life, but I don't know exactly what. I forgot where I learned this, but I've been telling myself this a lot. Like you don't need to know exactly what it is that is coming into your life, but you need to know the why. Like you might not know what your next job is. I don't know what my next job is, but I know exactly what values I'm looking for and what kind of life I want to live and the things that are most important to me. And I know why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. For example, I want to bring in creativity in my life, connection, and why? Because those are super important values to me.
They bring more excitement into life. Like creativity isn't something that I'm also like really wanting for this next chapter because I feel like I had to just shut it off for so long because I'm like, well, I don't have the time to be creative right now. Or I should be focusing this time on like making money. Or I'm too tired to even be creative. Yeah. So yeah, that's something that like I really want to bring into my life because that's something that like when I'm in it, time just doesn't exist. And I'm fully focused on it and nothing else. And I'm not thinking about the future or the past. I'm just thinking about that one thing that I'm working on. And it brings me so much joy and like calmness. And then I feel really cool that I got something creative done that I can share out into the world. And I was expressing myself and it feels like I'm connecting with my inner child. Like the person who had all these big dreams and really thought that they were possible and didn't have limits and just wanted to have fun, just wanted to do stuff because it was fun. But I feel like I've just cut off that side of me so much. So to the point where like when I have free time, I'm just scrolling on freaking TikTok
Yeah.
and then dissociating and then not having the energy because I have everyone else's thoughts going on in my head. And so when I do come back to reality and I'm walking around, like I feel like I'm in a haze and I don't feel creative because I haven't had any silence to come. There's no silence for my own ideas and thoughts and creativity to come in because I'm filling it with some kind of stimulation 24/7. So going into this new life, I'm going to be have more silence and make that a priority and make like every task that I'm doing, like laundry, focusing on that one task, focusing on doing laundry, like watching my hands fold it instead of having to have something in the background and like numbing out from this task. Because once I start numbing out the quote unquote boring tasks, it just goes into like the good tasks that I like doing too. And then I'm just never present and I'm just living in my head and just a zombie going through the motions.
Yeah. And that's a mindfulness practice too that I'm actually been trying to do more of recently because I kind of concluded with my therapist that my thoughts don't match my body because
Mm-hmm.
my thoughts are always just on something else. And so she's been having me like narrate in my head as I'm doing tasks like laundry, for example. Like I have to be like, okay, and now I'm picking this up, and now I am folding this, and now I'm looking at this to train my brain to be like in tandem with my body.
I like that. I really like that. I'm going to adopt that. I'm glad you said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Like anytime you can remember, just narrate in excruciating detail too, like as if you're explaining what you're doing to an alien who's never experienced that task before.
I like that.
Also, going back to inner child and creativity and like social media, I completely agree. And I feel like social media does help me find new ideas. So I don't think it's 100% bad. But as you were talking, I was also thinking back to when I was a kid before social media was a thing and how creative I was. And I was always writing. I was always like in my own little world, like making up stories and stuff. And like writing, I don't know, I was writing like movie ideas, like book ideas, songs, stuff like that, short stories. And that's the last time I remember feeling so creative and so in my mind. And that was also the last time before I did things with the idea in mind that I needed to impress somebody. Like back then, it
Mm-hmm.
was just for me. And now, whenever I do creative things, there's something in the back of my mind that's like, are people gonna like this?
Yeah.
And I also had a glimmer of this in 2020 when the whole world shut down and I was doing a lot by myself in my room. And I was hitting a point where I was like very creative and flowing with that energy. But then I got TikTok that fall. And then that's when I feel like I've been creative since then, but that's really when the last time I felt like I was fully opening up. And but yeah, there's always this degree of like somebody's watching, somebody I need to impress people. Like this, I don't know, like I need to impress just not even like thinking of specific people, but just this unknown crowd of people. I don't
Yeah.
know, like I'm always trying to impress, but that's not how the creative process should be.
Yeah. I 100% relate. 100% relate. It literally, I have been thinking about this too. We're so in sync with each other. It's crazy. I have been thinking about this too of like, when was the last time I was genuinely like present and happy and just doing shit for fun? And I think it's once I started watching social media and like watching YouTube. Well, YouTube made me feel creative, but it got to a certain point where YouTube was less of like Jenna Marbles and funny skits, and then it became vlogs. And I feel like as soon as it turned to vlogs, something like shifted, and it was almost like, yeah, people are doing stuff to like press other people. And if you want to get big on social media or have your songs blow up or have your art blow up, like it just felt like there was a certain formula that you had to follow or you weren't going to get like views. And maybe I am so conscious of that now because of TikTok, and I've learned so much about like the algorithm and like what grabs people's attention, and like you need to say it this way in order for it to grab people's attention, and you need to crop it this way, and you need to talk fast, and you need to get to the point. And it really has like fucked up my view of even just storytelling in person. And if I have a pause in person, I'm like, oh, they've lost interest in my story. They don't care about my story. Like, I think I'm still a really good storyteller, but I don't know. My views on TikTok have been really low and it's kind of discouraging. And now I'm like, nobody likes me or cares what I have to say. But it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter.
Yeah, that's so true. Like again, I think there are positives to social media, but it really has shifted into something like you have to do things a certain way to like yeah, for the algorithm or so many people that are like here's how to gain followers. Here's how to do this. Here's how to do that. But it's like that's not really authentic, but it's unfortunate that it's the way to grow. And I used to like pay attention to that stuff too because I was like, I want to share my art, but I wanted to like, people to see it and then to get big. But now I'm realizing more that a lot of it is really random. Going forward with social media, it's like, yeah, I'll still maybe try. But I think a lot of it will just be like if people connect with me, that's great. If not, oh well. And I think a lot of social media is gonna start to shift to that too. Like a lot of people are saying that with the start of the age of Aquarius, people are going to care less about influencers and like this unattainable lifestyle, and it's going to shift a lot more to like normal people doing their thing and not giving a fuck and just doing their thing.
Yeah.
Which I like. I like seeing people just having their own style, their own way of doing something and not caring if it's like fitting with the trend or like you can tell when people are really trying
Yeah.
to get followers, and I don't, or views, all that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with trying. But there's some certain accounts that I can tell like they genuinely don't care and they just want to post their art, and you can tell like it's so authentic. So I don't know. It's very there's two different sides to it to me, and I think there's truth in both
Yeah.
sides.
That's
But
duality.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hard finding that balance with creative stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I've like recorded a lot of videos, like YouTube videos that I haven't posted yet, but I have one that is like pretty much ready for me to save and just upload. But I keep going back and like watching it. And I'm like, this is kind of off topic. I'm going to delete that. This is kind of, and I'm like, you know what? Like, actually, some of my favorite creators are the ones that are just yapping. Yapping with no point. I love to just have them yapping in the background while I'm doing my thing. Or like I know I just said I don't want people like content all the time in the background while I'm doing stuff, but it's kind of nice sometimes to feel like someone's just talking. Like Drew Monson, have you seen him?
A while ago, yeah.
Like now he just posts videos basically of his just any single thought that comes out. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah, because then you don't have to worry about missing something important and going back. Because then you get distracted and then it keeps going and then you're like, oh, whatever. Like I didn't miss anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're just yapping.
They're just, it's not nothing important really.
Yeah.
And I like that. Like I feel like now there's just so much content out there of like information, and here's 10 things and know these 10 things, or like it feels like everyone's just feeding stuff into my brain, which is good. I've learned a lot, but also it's exhausting sometimes, and I just want to hear people yap.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so oversaturated. I feel like I keep seeing the same video over and over again from different creators talking like, here are 10 makeup tricks to make you look flawless or something.
And they're getting those tricks from all the other YouTubers, and it's just being the same shit is filtered around.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not discouraging people. If you really want to do that and you feel passionate, like totally go for it. But yeah, it's like the market is so oversaturated. Even our podcasts, like there's so many similar spiritual podcasts, but that doesn't mean you can't express yourself. It means probably more like what we're trying to do, like watch what we consume.
Super side note, speaking of consuming, I've been watching a lot of tarot readings and they've been like spot on. And this one tarot reading. Did I say on the podcast last time about my dream?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so the tarot reader that was in my dream that like sent me a message in my dream, I booked a reading from her and I should be getting it any day now, and I'm so excited. Like, I'm so excited. And today when I was folding laundry, all of a sudden in my ear, it was like I just felt like a bzzz in my ear, and I was like, something's trying to channel me, like something's trying to get in me and like to channel something. And so I literally went in my closet, closed my door, and like sat and just like meditated. And then at some point I was like, hey Sarah, I'm like, it must be the tarot reader like connecting to my energy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, those buzzes though. I get them a lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I heard that it's something channeling.
Like some kind of spiritual connection, like
yeah.
spirit guides or deities or something.
Yeah.
I want to learn how to channel. Like I definitely have before, but I want to like intentionally learn how to channel. And I've tried, but then I sit there and like for a few minutes and nothing happens, and it's just me sitting in silence like focusing on my like third eye, and I'm like, why is no one coming through? Like, I'm a channel for beings of higher love and light, like, and then nothing comes through, and I'm like, ugh, maybe it's I'm trying too hard.
Yeah, it could be that. I feel like I don't know, like I don't really think of it. I feel like some people have different believe in like different deities or something. I don't know if I really believe that there's different, like beings or something. I think it's more, this is just my belief. I think it's like it's kind of my higher self, but it's kind of just like the whole universe. And I think maybe when people, again, this is only my opinion, but every time I think I'm quote unquote channeling, it's coming from within, from like a deeper knowledge that is not conscious in me, like not like of my conscious mind, but it's coming from like it's like intuition slash source slash
Collective consciousness.
yeah. Yeah, like I don't think of it as something outside of me. I used to think of it something outside of me, but then on my last shroom trip, I realized that it was actually within me. And I think it's within everybody. So whenever I'm channeling, it's more just like me tapping into my intuition, like this collective consciousness. But I don't think of it as one certain thing, like an angel or something. What do you think?
Like I feel like the same, like when you can channel like the collective consciousness, and that's you're a part of that, and it's just you basically talking to yourself. But I also believe in like spirit guides that whose like sole purpose is to just help you out, because I want to like see you up level and like reach your highest potential, and they're working behind the scenes, and there's other spirit guides and they're like, hey, Emma's spirit guide, we have Casey here who's also new to the school, and they should become friends, and we have a long-term plan for them, but let's get them together. So I feel like people's spirit guides work together, and I feel like some might come into your life in that for like a certain reason to get you through certain trials or lessons, and then they leave and like new ones come in. I don't so okay, I've been seeing like channel messages on my thing, and they're saying it's from deities, so like gods and goddesses, like Bashar is one. there's this one guy who's always channeling Bashar, but I don't know if I'm fully behind that, because why are these gods talking to just like random people? Like, I would think that maybe if they're gods, they would be talking to people who are, I don't know, like the president or people in high, I don't know, that the god ones, I'm just kind of like, I don't know why they're talking to regular people and talking to so many people.
I don't know. The reason I don't really vibe with it is I think there's a lot of room for like spirit. I'm not saying everybody does this, but I think there is room for like spiritual abuse to happen. Or I don't know if that's the right term. Like, I think it's fair because there are a lot of cults and religions where someone claims that they can channel a certain deity and then use it to manipulate others. And yeah, it's a good point. Like, why would they only pick certain people? And I'm not dismissing people who've probably had really real, like, experiences. And so to me, thinking of deities and stuff like that, I think it's more, in my opinion, like the energy of that god or goddess. Like, for example, I've seen people talk about working with Aphrodite, and I don't think a lot of these people actually think that she exists. I think it's more like we're channeling her energy of like beauty and love and things like that. Or I grew up Christian, and Jesus, like a lot of people work with Jesus, even like non-Christian people. And again, don't know if he is actually real or not, but I think it's more like the embodiment of his character that people are trying to work with. I don't know. But I do think some people also do believe in like these deities or angels and stuff. Like, I guess some people do think they're actually real, but I would just, I guess I would just caution people, to be careful in what, because I've also worked in mental health and experienced working with people that do believe in these things and that they're getting messages, but it's like clearly psychosis. Basically, I say this a lot with spirituality. If it's making you too disconnected from reality, then it's probably starting to become an issue. But if it's like adding to your life, enhancing your life, making your life better, and it's not interfering with your health or like the health of others around you, then I think go for it. Like, you can believe whatever you want to believe, but I think it's just, I have to just be careful with like that, because I know what happens when you kind of get too far, in the spiritual psychosis realm.
Yeah. There's so much unknown. Like, there's some things where I'm like, yeah, like I'll believe in this one day, and like 2 weeks from then it's like I don't, or I'm like questioning it. I think it really just depends on my mood and what I need in that moment. Like, if
Yeah.
in that moment I need to believe that there's some spirit guides out there that are working behind the scenes to make sure everything is good and I'm protected by them, then that's good for me in that moment, because then I'm like, yes, I'm protected.
Yeah. I I still kind of believe in spirit guides because I think that my cat is my spirit guide, and I think it's the same guide or whatever that was in my childhood dog. Because I grew up with him. He helped me so much with like all the transitions in my life because I moved around a lot, and he was just always just like the sweetest dog ever, like really there for me. And then I got my cat and they met, and then my dog passed away shortly after. And my cat acts like my dog. my old dog. And so I genuinely think there's like some kind of spirit guide that was in him, helped guide me, and then passed it on to Olive, my cat.
Yeah.
And so it brings me comfort to know, like, I think she's here for me, like, to take care of me, protect me.
This relates to Olive, your cat. I went into this like spiritual shop, and there was this Pomeranian sitting on a stool behind the counter, and it was just sitting there, like no one was around. And then all of a sudden, like the guy that worked at the shop was there, and we were like, "Oh, we like your dog, yada yada." And he was telling us that he was training the dog, I think it to be like, I can't remember what the terminology was, but I think it was spirit animal or spirit guide, something like that. And it was training it to become that. And he said the dog, when he was sleeping, the dog would be there and protect him from evil or negative entities in his sleep. And so maybe Olive is there, and when you're sleeping, she's fighting off all these negative energies if there are any.
Maybe that's why she sleeps right on my pillow.
Yeah.
Or right on top of me. Like, she's always right next to me or on me when I'm falling asleep.
She's protecting you. But I also like believe in reincarnation. We die and then our souls come back here in a new body and like learn new lessons until
Yeah.
maybe we reach bliss or nirvana or something, and we've learned all the lessons we're supposed to like learn, and healing all our past generational traumas and stuff. And then I think like once you reach that, like you can become like a guide or one with the universe or just something, maybe an alien on a different planet, I don't know. So that's why I'm like, maybe I could see how maybe deities are a thing, like they're just another energy. I think it
Yeah.
just makes more life way more interesting to believe all this, and that's why I do, because it's just fun to believe.
Yeah. There's a lot of theories about that we're all the same thing and we're just the universe experiencing itself. Like, we all are the universe. There's so many theories.
Because of like the Big Bang, and that's what started everything. So we're all starting from the same exact thing. And so we're all like this one thing.
Yeah, I forgot. I think there's, what's it called? The egg theory of life. And there's a video on YouTube that is really popular. So if you just look it up, you'll find it. But basically, it's a theory that the entire universe was created as an egg for the main character, aka all of humanity. And once you have lived every human life ever, you will be born as a god.
Wow.
But I haven't watched that video in a while, so I'm not really explaining it that well, but look it up. It's an interesting video.
Dude, that would be a lot of lives that you have to live.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'm already tired of this life.
I know. Yeah.
I just want to be someone's spirit guide in my next life. I'm done here on earth, but who knows? Like maybe this like new life slash timeline I'm entering into will make me want to come back here. But I
Yeah.
think I'm here to like teach people and like bring light and positivity to the world and raise like the consciousness and the vibe and just make earth like a better place to live, at least for some people.
Yeah, I kind of realize I guess I don't know, some people call it a download. I think it's literally just something that seems to be a voice that comes from outside your own like daily narration. Um, so more like an intuitive message that my purpose is basically to like help help others and help myself through means involving like art, music, creativity, therapy, like working in mental health, things like that.
I can see that.
Yeah. So I've just kind of taken that and I try to use that as my purpose with everything that I do.
What do you think happens when we die?
Good question. um I still don't know. I'm never going to say that I know the true answer. I think people that think they know exactly what happens are wrong because like how would you know? And a lot of people have died and come back to life and I love hearing stories of people that have experienced that. And I think a lot of people, what they experience is still rooted in kind of some of their beliefs as a human. So, but a lot of the stories are very similar. Like, everyone just feels overwhelming peace and love and like sees old family members and experiences like bright light. And that seems to be very much, even with different religions tied into it or not, it always just seems to be very peaceful for people. Like a lot of people that have died and come back didn't want to come back. So I don't know exactly what I think happens, but I'm not scared of death anymore after knowing that because I think once you do die, it's like you feel the embodiment of love and peace and gratitude for what life you experienced. I'm not really sure what happens, and I love thinking of different theories about the universe and what happens, but I'm not really scared of death.
I'm
What do you think?
scared of the pain that is associated with dying.
Yeah, I am too, but then think about it this way: you'll experience the pain and then you die, and then you won't even be around to remember that pain because you'll be dead.
I guess that's true. Like, I just have this morbid vision of getting, like, stabbed and die a very painful, slow death.
Yeah, that's the worst part, but then you're gone and then you don't have to deal with it.
Oh, okay, so we were just talking about channel messages. I have to tell them about my dream, a different dream. So I'm in EMDR therapy right now, and one of like the side effects after you do the therapy is you might have very vivid dreams. And I had this crazy vivid dream. So like, well, while I was in therapy, I was crying and it felt like I had just like an energy blockage in my throat. Felt like I was having to like really push out, and I had a dream after, and in my dream I felt like something was caught in my throat, and I looked in the mirror and I started pulling out like a chain of paper clips, and the paper clips had like parts of the paper clips open, and so it was like getting scraping my throat and like getting caught, and like they were all bundling up together, and I just kept pulling them, and like the more I pulled out, like the better I felt, but I was also scared at the same time that it was never going to end. And I just felt like that was such a good metaphor for actually feeling your feelings and feeling the pain or that emotion in your body and actually processing and working through it. And if you don't, it may hurt getting it out. It might be uncomfortable getting it out, but once it's out, like you can kind of breathe again.
Like purging.
Yeah.
That's a good metaphor. Yeah, because the worst part about healing is releasing it, because it's all coming up to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
But then, yeah, once it's out, then you're good.
Yeah, I've now adopted that mindset. And so when I am feeling a uncomfortable feeling now, I just like feel it.
Yeah, that's kind of a full circle moment to the beginning of this podcast and like going through it. Like in my situation, I just have to let myself feel the disappointment and the rage. And I don't like feeling feelings of anger and rage. I don't like being angry. I was watching someone talk about it who's like, I follow her, I like her kind of intuitive messages, and she is a massage therapist and talks a lot about how anger is stored in the jaw. And I have a lot of jaw pain, especially lately. And I've been, I've been doing like gua sha, trying to manage my tension, like clenching my jaw. But in my sleep, it happens most in my sleep. Like and she said a lot of that is rooted in unreleased anger. Like I've had a lot of negative feelings, more of like sadness, disappointment, things like that. But I don't think I ever really address anger head on because I don't like feeling angry. But I have so much to be angry about, and I don't know, and anger is such a hard one to release to me. Like I'm not really like a yell type of person, and like I know I could punch a pillow, but I don't know, I'm like really trying to figure out how to release that anger. So if anybody has any tips on releasing anger, let me know. And not just about my own life, but the world in general. Like I have so much anger about a lot of things going on in the world right now. And I feel like I'm just holding on to all this anger. Our system, capitalism, the people in charge, the people that don't give a fuck about most of the world.
Private equity people.
Yeah. Fuck big corporations. I don't care if they're listening to me right now. Like, what are you gonna do? Fire me?
They already
I don't give a fuck.
did.
I don't give a fuck. It's okay to feel these emotions, but you have to face it and address it. I think I'm the type of person that numbs out.
Mm-hmm.
Like right when I got home after being laid off, I just go on TikTok, numb out. I numb out in a lot of different ways. Avoid thinking about it, avoid feeling it. And that's how it stays stuck in the body. Is when you don't process it out and then it manifests into different things like jaw issues. Maybe in another episode we do more research on releasing emotion.
Yeah, that would be good. I heard like screaming is good for releasing anger. They have those rage rooms too where you just like take a bat to stuff.
Yeah. But I definitely yelled on a busy bridge a couple days ago.
Really?
I was too scared to fully scream at the top of my lungs.
Yeah. Good for you. Proud of you. Well, I feel like that's probably a good ending to this episode.
All right. So, thank you all so much for listening. Feel free to check out our social media. We have Instagram, TikTok. Let us know what you think about this episode. If you have any questions, comments, we always love hearing your stories and input. Tune in a couple weeks for our next episode.
Side note on what Emma said, thank you to everyone who has reached out and told us that they've listened to the podcast and that they are enjoying it and that it's brought them some peace or clarity. We really, really appreciate your feedback. Like we were talking about in the beginning of this episode, it kind of sucks when you put yourself out there and your art out there and like nobody says anything. So we just want to say we really, really appreciate you and we're glad that it's resonating, and we hope that we can give some more good stuff that still resonates and makes you feel good. So yeah. Anyways, that's all. Peace and
Thank you
love.
all.